Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. It's an honor to speak to you about something incredibly powerful, something that each of us uses every single day, yet often underestimates. That something is our thoughts. And today I want to explore how thoughts control health. We live in an age of advanced medicine where technology can scan our bodies and doctors can prescribe powerful drugs. But amidst all this progress, science is also confirming something ancient cultures always knew. Our minds and bodies are deeply connected. Let me ask you, have you ever felt sick with worry or gotten a headache from stress? That's not a coincidence. That's the power of thought. Negative thinking, worry, fear, anger doesn't just stay in our heads. It triggers chemical changes in the body. Increased cortisol, rapid heartbeat, shallow breathing, weakened immunity. Over time, these reactions can lead to chronic illness. But the good news is the opposite is also true. Positive thoughts, hope, gratitude, love, heal. They calm our nervous system, reduce inflammation, and even lower the risk of heart disease and depression. People who think positively tend to recover faster, live longer, and experience greater overall well-being. Now, I'm not saying that thoughts alone can replace medical treatment, but I am saying this: the way we think can either support or sabotage our health. Let's make it practical. Start your day with affirmations. Practice mindfulness. Speak kindly to yourself. Surround yourself with people who lift you up. Train your mind like you train a muscle, because when your mind is strong, your health will follow. The concept of the mind-body connection has gained increasing recognition in both medical and psychological fields as it becomes clearer how our thoughts, emotions, and mental patterns directly influence our physical health. This connection is not just philosophical or spiritual, it is deeply biological and scientific. The human body operates as a unified system where the brain, nervous system, immune system, and endocrine system all communicate continuously. Thoughts and emotions are not abstract, isolated experiences. They are electrical and chemical events that can shape the way our bodies function. When we experience stress, for example, our thoughts trigger a cascade of biological responses. The brain signals the adrenal glands to release stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones prepare the body for a fight or flight response by increasing heart rate, tightening muscles, and diverting energy away from non-essential systems like digestion. While this response is helpful in short bursts, chronic negative thinking, such as persistent anxiety, fear, or pessimism, keeps the body in a prolonged state of stress. Over time, this constant activation wears down the immune system, increases blood pressure, disrupts sleep, and raises the risk of serious illnesses, including heart disease and diabetes. On the other hand, positive mental states have equally powerful but beneficial effects on the body. When we experience emotions such as joy, love, gratitude, and hope, the brain releases chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. These are often referred to as feel-good chemicals, and for good reason. They improve mood, enhance immune function, reduce inflammation, and promote better sleep. Numerous studies have shown that individuals who maintain an optimistic outlook recover more quickly from illness, report less pain, and even live longer lives than those who are chronically negative or depressed. The connection between mind and body is also evident in how we process trauma or emotional pain. Unresolved emotional issues can manifest physically. People who suffer from long-term grief or repressed anger often experience symptoms such as chronic headaches, stomach issues, or back pain. In some cases, these conditions remain resistant to conventional medical treatment until the emotional root cause is addressed. This has led to the rise of integrative medicine and holistic approaches that treat the patient as a whole rather than just a collection of symptoms. Another powerful example of the mind-body connection can be seen in the placebo effect. When patients believe they are receiving effective treatment, even if it is just a sugar pill, their bodies often respond as though they were actually receiving real medication. This effect is so well documented that all new drugs must be tested against a placebo in clinical trials. The placebo effect is a clear demonstration that belief and expectation alone can produce measurable positive changes in the body. Understanding the mind-body connection also gives us practical tools for improving our health. Practices like meditation, deep breathing, visualization, and mindfulness are not just for mental relaxation. They produce real physiological benefits. They lower heart rate, reduce blood pressure, and calm the nervous system. Over time, these practices can rewire the brain to respond more calmly to stress and enhance emotional resilience. The relationship between the mind and body is not a vague idea. It is a scientifically supported reality. The thoughts we think and the emotions we feel play a central role in our physical health. By becoming more mindful of our mental states and actively cultivating positive thought patterns, we can influence our health in powerful and lasting ways. The mind and body are not separate. They are partners in the journey of life, and taking care of one means taking care of the other. Negative thoughts, while often dismissed as fleeting or harmless, can have serious consequences on physical and mental health when they become persistent or habitual. The human brain is wired to respond to perceived threats, a trait that helped our ancestors survive in dangerous environments. However, in the modern world, this same survival mechanism can be triggered not by physical danger, but by chronic negative thinking patterns such as worry, fear, resentment, and pessimism. When these thoughts dominate the mind, they set off a chain of biological responses that, over time, can harm nearly every system in the body. When a person consistently engages in negative thinking, the brain activates the body's stress response system. The hypothalamus signals the adrenal glands to release stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline. In small, short-term doses, these hormones are helpful. They increase alertness and provide energy to deal with immediate challenges. But when stress becomes chronic, which often happens as a result of repeated negative thinking, the constant flood of these hormones begins to take a toll. Elevated cortisol levels can suppress the immune system, increase blood pressure, disrupt sleep patterns, and contribute to weight gain, particularly around the abdomen. The heart works harder, digestion becomes less efficient, and the body's ability to heal slows down. Negative thoughts also tend to increase inflammation in the body. Inflammation is a natural defense mechanism, but when it becomes chronic, it is linked to a host of diseases, including arthritis, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and even cancer. Psychological stress and negative emotions have been shown in studies to elevate inflammatory markers in the blood. This means that a person who frequently harbors negative thoughts may be unknowingly creating the internal conditions for disease to develop or worsen. Furthermore, negative thinking affects mental health in profound ways. It contributes to the development and maintenance of anxiety and depression. People who frequently think negatively often feel hopeless, overwhelmed, and powerless. This emotional state can lead to social withdrawal, reduced motivation, and unhealthy behaviors such as overeating, substance abuse, or lack of exercise. These behaviors in turn contribute to physical illness, creating a vicious cycle where the mind and body reinforce each other's decline. Another significant impact of negative thinking is its effect on the brain itself. Research in neuroscience has shown that negative thoughts can physically reshape the brain over time. The more we focus on negativity, the stronger those neural pathways become, making it easier for our minds to default to those patterns. It's like walking the same trail in a forest over and over. The path becomes clearer and easier to follow. This neural rewiring makes it harder to break out of cycles of negativity, further deepening its impact on health and well-being. Even the immune system, our body's natural defense mechanism, is not immune to the effects of negative thinking. People with chronic stress or depression often have fewer white blood cells, making them more vulnerable to infections and slower to recover from illness. Studies have shown that individuals with a more pessimistic outlook are more likely to get sick and take longer to heal than those with a more positive mindset. All of this illustrates that negative thinking is far from harmless. It's not just about being in a bad mood, it's about what happens in the body when the brain is constantly sending signals of fear, anger, or sadness. While we can't eliminate every negative thought, we can become more aware of them and work to shift our focus. Cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness, journaling, and talking to a supportive friend or therapist can all help in rewiring thought patterns. By addressing negative thinking directly, we take a crucial step toward protecting and improving our health, both mentally and physically. Positive thoughts are more than just uplifting emotions or pleasant mental experiences. They have a measurable, healing impact on the body and mind. In recent decades, science has increasingly confirmed what ancient philosophies and traditional practices have long taught. Our mental and emotional state plays a vital role in maintaining and restoring health. When individuals consistently cultivate positive thoughts such as gratitude, hope, love, and optimism, they trigger powerful biochemical responses that enhance physical well-being, support the immune system, and even accelerate recovery from illness. When a person experiences positive emotions, the brain releases a range of beneficial neurochemicals, including dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. These chemicals are often referred to as feel-good hormones, but their effects go far beyond mood regulation. Dopamine is associated with motivation and reward, which can inspire people to engage in healthier behaviors such as exercising or eating nutritious food. Serotonin contributes to a sense of peace and satisfaction, while oxytocin fosters connection and bonding. Together, these chemicals help reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and support the body's ability to heal itself. Positive thinking also directly counteracts the stress response. While negative thoughts activate the sympathetic nervous system, preparing the body for fight or flight, positive thoughts engage the parasympathetic nervous system, which promotes rest and digestion. This shift is not just emotional, it causes real physiological changes: slower heart rate, improved digestion, relaxed muscles, and enhanced immune function. Over time, living in a more relaxed, positive state can reduce the risk of chronic diseases and improve overall resilience. Several scientific studies have highlighted the link between a positive mindset and health outcomes. For example, research has shown that heart disease patients who maintain an optimistic outlook are more likely to survive and recover than those with a pessimistic view. Similarly, cancer patients who cultivate hope and emotional support often experience better treatment outcomes and a higher quality of life during recovery. Even something as simple as practicing gratitude by writing down a few things each day for which one is thankful has been shown to improve sleep, boost immune response, and reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety. Positive thoughts also have the power to change behavior in health-promoting ways. When people believe in their ability to improve or recover, they are more likely to take actions that support their well-being. This includes following medical advice, attending therapy, exercising regularly, and making healthier lifestyle choices. Optimism and self-efficacy, belief in one's ability to affect change, are powerful motivators that lead to better long-term health outcomes. Moreover, positive thoughts influence how we relate to others, which also affects our health. People who maintain a more positive mindset tend to experience stronger social connections, which are linked to reduced mortality, faster recovery from illness, and lower levels of inflammation. Social support buffers against stress and encourages individuals to seek help when needed, both of which are crucial for healing and long-term well-being. Even the placebo effect demonstrates the healing power of belief. When patients believe that a treatment, whether real or fake, will work, their bodies often respond positively. This is not merely psychological, it is a physical reaction prompted by positive expectations. The body releases endorphins, immune function improves, and symptoms can diminish, all based on the power of belief and thought. In conclusion, positive thoughts do far more than make us feel good in the moment. They create a biological environment that fosters healing, strengthens the immune system, and supports long-term health. By making a conscious effort to focus on gratitude, hope, and kindness, we don't just improve our outlook, we actively support our body's ability to thrive. The mind is a powerful ally in the journey toward health, and nurturing positive thoughts is one of the most effective ways to harness that power. The connection between thought and health is no longer just a topic of philosophical debate or spiritual belief. In recent years, scientific research has increasingly supported the idea that our thoughts have a direct and measurable impact on our physical and mental well-being. This growing body of evidence confirms what many ancient traditions have claimed for centuries. The mind is a powerful force that can shape the health of the body. Through studies in neuroscience, psychology, immunology, and even cardiology, science is now able to explain how thoughts influence health in concrete biological terms. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence comes from the field of neuroscience, which has shown that the brain is not static, but constantly changing in response to thoughts, experiences, and behavior. This phenomenon, known as neuroplasticity, reveals that our mental patterns can physically alter brain structure over time. Repeated negative thinking, for instance, strengthens neural pathways related to anxiety, fear, and depression, making those states more likely to recur. On the other hand, positive thinking reinforces pathways associated with calmness, resilience, and emotional balance. This means that by changing how we think, we can literally rewire our brains in ways that support better health. Psychological research has also demonstrated how thought patterns influence physical health. Chronic stress, often fueled by negative thoughts, has been linked to numerous health problems, including heart disease, obesity, and autoimmune disorder. When people perceive their environment as threatening, whether due to actual danger or imagined fears, the brain triggers the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Prolonged exposure to these hormones weakens the immune system, damages blood vessels, and disrupts sleep. However, individuals who adopt a more optimistic or solution-focused mindset experience fewer of these harmful effects, even when facing similar challenges. The placebo effect is another powerful example of how belief, a form of thought, can influence health. In clinical trials, patients who believe they are receiving real treatment, when in fact they are given a harmless substance, often report improvements in symptoms. This effect has been observed across a wide range of conditions, from pain relief and depression to Parkinson's disease and even post-surgical. The placebo effect demonstrates that the brain can initiate healing responses simply because the person expects to get better. This expectation leads to the release of endorphins, improved immune function, and real physiological changes, all triggered by thought alone. Studies in psychoneuroimmunology, the field that explores how thoughts and emotions influence the immune system, further support the power of thought. Research has shown that people who regularly experience positive emotions such as gratitude, joy, and compassion have stronger immune responses than those who dwell in negativity. For example, individuals with a positive outlook on life tend to produce more antibodies in response to vaccines and recover faster from illness. This indicates a direct link between mental states and the body's ability to defend itself against disease. Even in the realm of cardiology, thought patterns have been shown to play a critical role. A landmark study known as the Nuns study found that nuns who expressed more positive emotions in their early autobiographical writings lived significantly longer than those who expressed more negativity. Other research has shown that heart attack survivors with a positive mental attitude have better recovery rates and a lower risk of recurrence than those with a pessimistic outlook. In sum, the scientific community has gathered substantial evidence that thoughts are not just intangible experiences, but real forces that influence the body's functioning. From reshaping brain structure to influencing hormone levels, immune response, and recovery rates, the power of thought is deeply embedded in human biology. This growing body of research makes it clear that cultivating healthy thinking is not just a psychological luxury, it is a medical. As science continues to explore the depths of the mind-body connection, it only strengthens the case for using our thoughts as tools for healing and health. Our daily thoughts shape our experiences, decisions, and even our physical health. Mental habits, those recurring patterns of thinking we engage in day after day, play a central role in determining our overall well-being. Just as physical habits like exercise and diet influence the condition of our bodies, mental habits influence the health of our minds, and through the mind-body connection, our physical health as well. Whether we realize it or not, the way we regularly interpret events, speak to ourselves, and react emotionally becomes a powerful force that can either support or sabotage our long-term health. Mental habits are formed through repetition. For example, someone who constantly assumes the worst or anticipates failure begins to default to that mindset in all situations. Over time, this becomes their automatic response, not because it's accurate, but because it's familiar. These negative mental habits often go unnoticed because they feel normal. However, their consequences are significant. Constant self-criticism, catastrophizing, or assuming others are judging us creates ongoing psychological stress, which has a direct effect on physical health. It keeps the brain in a state of perceived threat, triggering the release of stress hormones and weakening the immune system. Conversely, positive mental habits can build emotional resilience and reduce the impact of stress. Habits such as gratitude, mindfulness, forgiveness, and self-compassion don't just feel good emotionally, they have measurable effects on the body. For instance, people who make a habit of practicing gratitude have been shown to sleep better, have lower blood pressure, and show stronger immune function. Regularly pausing to appreciate what one has can shift the brain's focus away from scarcity and threat, reducing the body's stress response. Mindfulness, another beneficial mental habit, involves staying present and aware of one's thoughts and feelings without judgment. Practicing mindfulness daily has been shown to lower cortisol levels, reduce anxiety, and improve focus and emotional control. When we are mindful, we are less likely to react impulsively or become overwhelmed by negative thinking. Instead, we learn to observe our thoughts, allowing us to choose our responses more wisely. This shift in awareness can prevent small stressors from snowballing into bigger health issues. Mental habits also affect behavior. People with constructive thinking patterns are more likely to engage in healthy behaviors such as exercising, eating well, and getting adequate sleep. On the other hand, those with destructive mental habits might fall into cycles of procrastination, emotional eating, or substance abuse. For example, if someone habitually thinks, "I'm not good enough," they may avoid challenges and opportunities for growth, leading to frustration and low self-esteem. But if that habit is replaced with one like, "I'm doing my best and I can improve," it can lead to more action, motivation, and better outcomes. Importantly, mental habits can be changed. Just like we can build physical strength through exercise, we can strengthen healthy thinking through intentional practice. Techniques like journaling, cognitive behavioral strategies, positive affirmations, and talking with a therapist can all help break unhelpful mental cycles. Even small daily efforts, like starting the day with a positive intention or ending it by noting 3 things that went well, can begin to rewire the brain toward healthier thinking patterns. The key is consistency. One positive thought might lift your mood for a moment, but a habit of positive thinking can change the way your brain responds to life. By becoming more aware of our recurring thoughts and actively choosing ones that support growth and well-being, we create a mental environment that fosters both emotional balance and physical health. In conclusion, mental habits matter deeply. They influence how we see the world, how we feel about ourselves, how we interact with others, and how our bodies function. By recognizing and reshaping our mental habits, we gain the power to improve not only our minds, but our entire lives. Thoughts are often mistaken for harmless, passing impressions that float through the mind without much consequence. However, this view underestimates the true power of thought. In reality, thoughts are not passive. They are active, dynamic forces that shape how we feel, how we behave, and how our bodies respond to the world around us. Every thought triggers a response in the brain, which then communicates with the rest of the body through chemical messengers and nerve signals. This process happens automatically, often outside our conscious awareness, but its effects are real and far-reaching. When a thought enters the mind, whether it is based on reality or imagination, it is interpreted by the brain as a signal that requires a response. If the thought is fearful, stressful, or negative, it can activate the body's stress response. The hypothalamus in the brain sends signals to the adrenal glands to release stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones prepare the body to face danger by increasing heart rate, tightening muscles, and sharpening focus. While this response is helpful in actual emergencies, it can become damaging when triggered repeatedly by habitual negative thinking. For example, simply thinking about a conflict at work, financial problems, or a painful memory can set off this physical reaction, even when no real threat is present. This illustrates the profound point that the body does not distinguish between real experiences and imagined ones. The same physiological changes occur whether we are in physical danger or simply thinking about something upsetting. Therefore, thoughts are not passive observations. They are commands that the brain takes seriously. This is why chronic worry, rumination, or pessimism can lead to real health problems such as high blood pressure, chronic fatigue, digestive issues, and weakened immune function. Over time, the body wears down under the influence of continuous stress signals, all of which may have been triggered by thought alone. On the positive side, the same mechanism can be harnessed to promote health and healing when we think positively, imagining peaceful scenes, recalling joyful memories, or focusing on love and gratitude. The brain sends very different signals to the body. Instead of stress hormones, it releases endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin. These chemicals not only improve mood, but also reduce inflammation, enhance immune function, and support overall health. Visualization exercises, for example, use the active power of thought to guide the body toward recovery. Athletes, performers, and even patients preparing for surgery have used visualization to improve outcomes by mentally rehearsing success and healing. Thoughts also influence behavior, which in turn affects health. A thought like, "I'm not good enough," can lead to withdrawal, lack of motivation, or unhealthy coping behaviors like overeating or avoiding exercise. Meanwhile, a thought such as, "I can handle this," encourages resilience and proactive behavior. These behavioral responses accumulate over time, shaping our habits and ultimately our long-term health. Every action begins as a thought. Even the smallest decisions, what to eat, whether to rest, how to respond to stress, are rooted in a mental framework shaped by repeated thinking patterns. Furthermore, thoughts influence our relationships, which are a major factor in mental and physical health. If we assume the worst about others, feel constantly judged, or carry resentment, we may experience more conflict and isolation. In contrast, thoughts rooted in empathy, forgiveness, and understanding lead to healthier connections, which provide emotional support and reduce stress. In essence, thoughts are powerful tools, active forces that influence our biology, behavior, and environment. They are not just internal commentary, they are instructions that the body follows. Becoming aware of our thoughts and choosing them wisely gives us a measure of control over our health and well-being. By recognizing that thoughts are not passive, we can begin to treat them with the respect and care they deserve, using them intentionally to support a healthier, more balanced life. One of the most empowering truths about the human mind is that we have the ability to choose our thoughts. While we cannot always control the events that happen around us or the emotions that arise automatically, we do have the capacity to decide how we respond mentally. This power, though subtle, can dramatically influence our emotional state, our behavior, and even our physical health. Understanding that we are not slaves to our thoughts, but rather the thinkers behind them, opens up a path toward greater peace, resilience, and well-being. Our minds are constantly producing thoughts, some conscious, some unconscious. These thoughts often arise in response to our environment, past experiences, and habitual thinking patterns. At times, they can seem automatic and even intrusive, especially when they are negative or fear-based. But just because a thought appears does not mean we must believe it, dwell on it, or let it define our reality. The key difference lies in awareness. When we become mindful of our thoughts, we gain the opportunity to pause, reflect, and decide whether a thought is helpful or harmful, true or distorted. This ability to observe and choose our thoughts is a fundamental aspect of mental health and personal growth. People who develop the habit of questioning their thoughts, asking, is this thought true or does this thought serve me, are better equipped to avoid falling into patterns of anxiety, depression, or chronic stress. For example, after a mistake, a common thought might be, I always mess things up. Left unchallenged, this can lead to shame and avoidance. But if we stop and question that thought, we might replace it with, I made a mistake, but I can learn from it. This shift, though small, can change the emotional outcome and influence future behavior in a positive way. Scientific research supports the idea that choosing healthier thoughts can rewire the brain. Through a process known as neuroplasticity, the brain adapts to repeated mental activity. This means that the more we practice thinking in constructive and compassionate ways, the stronger those neural pathways become. Over time, positive thinking becomes more natural, not because life gets easier, but because we train our brains to respond more effectively. By choosing our thoughts, we literally shape the structure of our minds and, by extension, our lives. The power to choose our thoughts also helps us build emotional resilience. Life will always bring challenges, loss, change, disappointment, but how we interpret and react to those events determines how deeply they affect us. When we believe we are powerless or doomed, we increase our suffering. But when we choose thoughts like, I will get through this, or this is painful, but it's temporary, we create space for healing and growth. Choosing empowering thoughts doesn't mean denying reality or pretending everything is perfect. It means facing reality with a mindset that supports strength and hope rather than fear and despair. Additionally, choosing our thoughts influences our relationships. Thoughts drive our perceptions of others. If we constantly think people are against us or trying to hurt us, we act with suspicion or hostility, which can damage connections. But if we choose to believe the best in others or assume good intentions, we foster more empathy and trust. This not only improves social harmony, but also reduces the stress and isolation that can come from conflict and mistrust. Ultimately, the recognition that we can choose our thoughts is a profound form of freedom. It reminds us that while we cannot always control the external world, we can control how we interpret and respond to it. With intention and practice, we can cultivate a mindset that supports health, happiness, and inner peace. The mind is a powerful tool, and when we learn to use it wisely, we unlock our potential to lead more fulfilling and resilient lives.